Star Wars hasn't been the same since Rise of Skywalker. In fact, it's struggling to maintain a pulse, all thanks to one man. To be fair, he already had experience with rebooting beloved space movies and showed some solid chops as a director along the way. You can't blame Disney for wanting him, especially after The Force Awakens.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
However, after the release of Rise of Skywalker and a bit of hindsight, it's clear that J.J. Abrams' ability as a director relies solely on the quality of script he's directing. From Super 8 to Star Trek, he rarely rises above that fact, which isn't an uncommon occurrence for a studio director. But after writing and directing Super 8, he wasn't seen as just another director. He was seen as the next Steven Spielberg. That is, until he wrote and directed Rise of Skywalker, a movie so creatively bankrupt, it's shocking it didn't take out alone.
For those who hate it, I could not respect your opinion more. And for those who love it, I question your sanity.
Many have said that the biggest failure of this trilogy is the lack of a concrete plan between all three, but I think that's only half true. Many films and trilogies have been fantastic without a concrete plan. Creative people are capable of incredible things when given an opportunity to be creative. Unfortunately for Disney and the sequel trilogy, only one person was smart enough to take the opportunity of what was essentially a blank slate, and it wasn't. Yes, it has its cliches and similarities to A New Hope, but it's still a solid script that any mediocre director could hold together.
Is there a big, giant, planet-sized weapon in Force Awakens? Yes. And does it blow up? It does blow up. And so there are undeniable, parallels. I very purposely wanted to sort of revisit the old.
To give him some credit, J.J. Abrams does hold it together, and then some. He clearly put his all into this film. It not only looks really great, but he also made great decisions to move the franchise back to fun practical effects and shooting with a dynamic camera on location. However, its lack of ideas and famous J.J. Abrams mystery boxes makes for a thoroughly unsatisfying film in the context of all three.
What are stories but mystery boxes?
It sets up a new mysterious evil emperor, only to have him killed in the next film.
What are stories but mystery boxes?
Rey has possession of Luke's lightsaber somehow, only for it to break in the next film.
Mystery boxes.
And Rey's parents turn out to be no one of importance in the next film.
They were nobody.
Mystery boxes.
Leading to what feels like a pissing match between one director who wanted to steer things in a different direction and another who got his feelings hurt. Yes, Ryan threw out many of J.J. Abrams'
mystery boxes,
but he did so with a purpose. He cleared the way for Kylo to succeed Snoke as the big bad. He blazed a path for Rey to become her own person, standing alone from any family lineage, and symbolically ended one story to begin another. I could be wrong, but it seems like J.J. Abrams didn't like this very much, so he got petty and decided to throw out Rian Johnson's throwing out of his mystery boxes. Within the first 5 minutes of Rise of Skywalker, it's clear J.J. Abrams wanted his trilogy back the way he left it. Within the first 5 minutes, we see Kylo looking for a thing that leads him to a place which hides a new Snoke, aka a new Palpatine. Or should I say, the old Palpatine, because
somehow Palpatine returned.
Truly shocking that within 5 minutes, J.J. Abrams spits in the eye of not only Rian Johnson for not allowing Kylo Ren to be the villain this trilogy desperately needed, but he also spits in the eye of the original trilogy by just having another Palpatine, undermining his death at the end of the 6th film. Appalling behavior just right out of the gate, completely ignoring any subtlety or artistry in favor of blunt stupidity. That ruins multiple moments across multiple films, just because he couldn't think of anything better to do. But these opening minutes are piss poor for more reasons than one. Yes, Palpatine returning is terrible, but it also handicaps Kylo Ren, a character whose arc from the previous 2 films was one of indecision. First, he was a Darth Vader fanboy. Then he broke his helmet as a symbolic gesture of his path becoming his own. And now he's just back to being a weird dark fanboy again.
Alas, you're no Vader. You're just a child. In a mask.
He reconstructed his helmet that he somehow got back after smashing in a turbo lift, went to find another Dark Lord, started doing his bidding too, and then decided he was a good boy after Leia died and Han showed up on the ruin of a somehow intact Death Star. It's a horribly rushed arc that once again felt like it undercut where the character was heading.
The Sith, the Jedi, the Rebels, let it all die.
mystery boxes.
Shortly after this, JJ pushes Rey into a generic Jedi training he set the stage for in The Force Awakens. But since he couldn't magically revive Luke, as he became one with the Force in The Last Jedi, he dug up Carrie Fisher to fill that brief role.
Everyone involved is part of a kind of magic trick of keeping Leia alive for the fans.
A subtle, if trite, shot at The Last Jedi for Luke's training being unfulfilling in that film, but you could easily chalk that up as just Jedi shenanigans. Oh, she needs to train again, whatever. The things that are truly egregious are the things that directly attack The Last Jedi. Like this. Rey once again has Luke's lightsaber. There's almost zero explanation or reasoning behind this, outside of maybe an offhand line explaining away the lightsaber literally erupting on a sinking doomed ship. What did she even do? Grab the many broken pieces of what essentially was a frag grenade that exploded on a doomed ship that was sinking, that she abandoned shortly after? And then what? Did she take tape and wrap it around the thing and call it good? If that's the case, that's horribly stupid. But if it was done with some symbolism in mind, I'd be a little bit more happy. So let's think of anything that it could mean for this movie. Unless J.J. Abrams pulls up in these comments right now, I legitimately can't think of any symbolic reason for this other than to take terrible, cheap shots at another director's work. Sure, you may think this is a small moment, but what it represents is something far more important. The symbolism of Luke's lightsaber being destroyed by Kylo and Rey was meant to be more than just a destroyed laser sword. Luke's lightsaber was a link to Luke, the Last Jedi, but also a link to the past, a symbol of what was, and by destroying it, Rey suddenly had nothing tying her to Luke or the past Jedi. She is truly her own person after that moment. Luke was the Last Jedi, and Rey began something new.
See you around, kid.
It's a big moment for a film all about becoming your own person, something that JJ continually tears away at with The Rise of Skywalker. Of course, I'd be a fool's fool if I didn't mention the controversy of revealing Rey's true parents. Disgusting, shriveled dick Emperor Palpatine.
You're his granddaughter. You are a Palpatine.
But JJ, being himself, couldn't help referencing and ultimately tying her to the fate of an evil space wizard who can conjure a million Star Destroyers with his mind. Honestly, changing who her parents are doesn't make a huge difference to the story, or it shouldn't. Her being a Palpatine in The Force Awakens doesn't really change who she is in that film or in The Last Jedi. It's just simply much less interesting, which is why J.J. Abrams frustrates me so much, because he makes these brain-dead decisions that affect nothing and mean nothing.
It's why when people like do sequels or rip off movies, of a genre, they're ripping off the wrong thing. You're not supposed to rip off the shark or the monster. You gotta rip off, if you're gonna rip something off, rip off the character.
The fallen Death Star from number 6 that is miraculously intact after vaporizing.
Rip off the character.
Luke's Force Ghost, which is taking shots at Rian Johnson again.
A Jedi's weapon deserves more respect.
Rip off the character.
Darth Vader's mask again, among other things. Of course, these are small, if annoying, references that easily could have been changed. The frustrating thing is that even the big things could have and should have been changed. Wouldn't it have been much better to have Rey be her own person?
They were nobody.
They were filthy junk traders who sold you off for drinking money.
Blazing her own unique story for her own unique character. Wouldn't it have been much better to have Kylo become his own person and be the ultimate counter to Rey? One struggling with his identity and placed behind famous people like Han and Leia, while the other attempts to make a name for herself by herself. Wouldn't it have been much better to just keep Luke's lightsaber busted and have her construct her own? I mean, she does at the end of Rise of Skywalker because J.J. Abrams wanted to tack on some last-minute symbolism where Rey has found herself, but it leads to nowhere, and it's at the very end of a trilogy.
Rey who? Rey Skywalker.
Are you serious?
Wouldn't it have been much better if this was its own film, ignoring the past and blazing its own legacy? I think we could all agree that that would have been better for this and the entire trilogy. If we all agree on that, then I think the real question we have to ask is J.J. Abrams even capable of blazing his own legacy?